Welcome to the Pathfinder Legacy Podcast, where we help farmers, ranchers, and business owners create a seamless transition plan for the future. From retirement to ownership transfer, we protect what you've built and guide you every step of the way.
Hello, all. It's October 31st, and welcome back to the Pathfinder Legacy Podcast, where we talk about family, farming, and the fine art of not losing your mind when you're working with your spouse. I'm your host, Heidi Olson, and today we're doing something a little different and a little dangerous, perhaps. That's right. I've invited my husband, Kirk, to join me for an episode we're calling Couples Therapy 101 Farm Edition. Now, don't worry. There won't be any actual therapy bills after this one. Unless, Kirk, you're willing to pay for that therapy.
No.
But there might be a few confessions from the tractor cab. We're diving right into what it's really like to farm together as a couple, from planting season to paperwork, from discussing equipment purchases to surviving 12 hours side by side in the field. We'll talk communication, conflict, and compromise, the 3 C's of marriage and farming. And since it's Halloween, we might even throw in a few spooky tales. Like the time Kirk thought he had a full-on business meeting with me, but it turns out he only had it in his head after talking to his parents. Yep, if you've ever wondered whether your spouse is secretly holding family board meetings without you, this episode's for you. So grab your coffee, climb into the buddy seat, and get ready for some laughter, a few stories from our operation, and maybe a couple of friendly ghosts from farm decisions past. All right, so let's plant the seeds really in the field. What's our typical day look like in the field? What really happens when we spend 10 plus hours together in the tractor or in the field?
Well, I get up, I get going, make a plan, and you might be ready to go, or you're working on stuff with your business here, or you've got some meetings or a phone call. Or I just don't need any help right away in the morning. And then I get the 30 questions from you. Well, what do you need help with? What do you need help with? What do you need help with? Well, when I need help, I'll ask. So that's what our normal day is like. And then once we get going, then we hit to it and get to the field and get it going.
All right. Yep. Okay. So full disclosure, before we go any further, you're gonna hear a theme here on who is the planner and who is not the planner. And without raising any hands, you could probably already guess who the planner is, because trying to keep that type A day going and this is what we do. And okay, well, how do I plan my day? But really having to learn how to roll with the punches and just take a step back and breathe, because I have had a structure 8 to 5 day job day for 30 plus years. So I'm really trying to get myself back on the entrepreneurship and see there really is no set work day. There's no 8 to 5 anymore. It's depending on the weather, sun up to sundown. And when the going is good, we got to get going. So all right. So who's actually the better driver? So
I don't know, because I'm always driving. So I guess I would say I'm the better driver. Katie did about get us killed in Fargo the first time she drove in Fargo. And then you drove into a snowbank and buried the vehicle in there during a blizzard. And I had to go out there and dig and use a heat gun to thaw out the brakes so we could pull it out. And I thought I was it was already an extended length version SUV, but I thought it was going to be longer by the time I got done yanking it with the tractor. So I'd say it's me.
Well, okay. So we have to say, when it's either spring or after harvest, after we're done and we're driving someplace and I drive, you enjoy looking out the window and looking at the crops, looking what's going on down the road. And you always say you can't sleep.
It's called reconnaissance. It's called reconnaissance.
Okay, you call it what you want. But sometimes if you say, you can't sleep, well, I may just hit the rumble strips to see if you are really sleeping or not. But you say it's bad driving. I think it's just checking to see if you're a sound sleeper or not.
Mm-hmm.
No comment. You got quiet there.
Yeah, I don't know. You never drive. We go on 1,000-mile trip and you might drive 50 miles of it.
I'm running the maps. I'm running the GPS so we make sure we get to the right spot. So I'm
Yeah, we
looking
need the
out.
maps down the interstate for 300 miles. Yeah,
I'm looking out for our safety
yeah.
and make sure we're going east and not west, right? We have heard somebody that didn't know what directions they were
Yep.
going. Okay,
It's
so it happens. It happens. What is the one thing I do in the field that maybe drives you nuts? And what's one thing that I do that helps save the day?
One thing that drives me nuts is you don't anticipate. You can see where I'm going to be and what I'm going to be doing, but then you're just sitting there in the tractor, and then I have to tell you, okay, let's go. Well, then you get going, and then you're late, which is not unusual for you to be late. That's why I always called you a last-minute lefer.
Yep, it does happen because you grow up that way and you have the last name that starts with an L. So you got to live up to those expectations.
Yeah, you're always a little bit late to the party, but what you do to save the day is you finally get there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But hey, at the end of the season, once we were done with harvest, I can say that I was anticipating more of that and becoming a mind reader. My crystal ball was working and I was right there where you were.
At it. Yep. You got better at it.
I knew how the crop was running. I'm like, all right, he can only make it this far. So I got to be there to help make sure I dump him. So I didn't have to drive an overfilled grain cart back to dump in the truck. So,
yeah, that's all you were scared about.
Yeah.
But the other thing you got to get is what I say, put 1.5 to 2 dumps in the front of the trailer and 3 dumps in the back. And you must be a little dyslexic or what, but because you put 3 in the front and a little bit in the back.
I was checking your math skills.
Yeah, I don't need to try and get a truck home like that. So.
Well, we survived. We made it.
Yeah.
So how do we handle something in the field when it breaks down or in the yard when you're working, getting ready for things? How do we handle those breakdowns and tensions as they arise?
Oh, well, luckily this year you didn't have to experience any breakdowns in the field, so it went pretty smooth. But normally it's a cooling off period before I leave the field and make a plan and make some phone calls and find out where parts are or what we need and what can be done. And then I come home and I might have a beer or 2 and then relax and then get going on it. Either get the thing home and get it fixed or get what I need to fix it out in the field or call somebody. So that's usually what it boils down to with me. I don't fly off the handle and get the world is ending, but make a plan.
That's right. Life is too short. And we both have grown up differently. So you grew up with the Norwegian side of the family where your heritage, I mean, you guys were drinking coffee and dunking your cookies and coffee. And on the German side, they were playing dice after church and maybe taking shots of whiskey and getting a little bit more excited. So my side of the family gets more excited than your side. So I would say it's a good balance between both of us and knowing how each other handles stress. So what would be your secret to staying patient when we disagree on how to do a task?
That you don't know any better.
I'm going to give you a fist bump on that one, Kirk.
I don't know. It doesn't do any good to argue about it. You aren't getting anything done there.
You know what? We've had a lot of arguments, but not anything that we couldn't resolve. And, at the end of the day, we still were able to, we'll talk through it and figure out what the plan was, as I'm a planner and, what step A, step B, and so on, and figure out how we're going to accomplish this.
Let's get plan A done before we start worrying about plan D or E or F. Because if plan A doesn't work, those other ones don't matter.
That's right.
That's how I work.
All right. So a spooky thought here. If our farm ghosts could talk, what's one haunting argument they'd remind us we've had over and over?
probably every year it's, now what's seeded here or what's seeded there? Is that wheat or is that durum? And how can you tell? And because I planted it there, I know what it is. That's how.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got similar rotations every year. And if I'm hauling something to the elevator, you always don't just say, what are you hauling? You always interpret that you know that. So where's the wheat going? I said, we're not hauling wheat, we're hauling durum. Oh, so that's going to Sydney then? No, that's going to Williston. Well, I thought that was going to Fargo. No, that was Tees. Well, who do you got? Who's hauling that? It doesn't matter. It's just getting done.
Well, that's that planner in me. There's that theme that we're hearing over again. And I can say, now that I am here with you full time, I have a better handle on these things and what's going on and what was planted where. Because when I was managing trusts, I knew I could look at my aerial maps from my clients and I knew what they had and where things were. Now I'm working side by side with you, and it's different when you're in the business every single day as a partner. Yeah. So, all right. So now let's switch gears and climb out of the tractor cab and let's hit the farm office. So let's talk about running the business side. Who handles what bills, the bookkeeping, seeding decisions, or land deals?
Me, and me. But it's getting better now that you're home more, so you can take on some of the bookkeeping stuff. And we've always talked about any land decisions together. And as far as planting decisions, we visit a little bit, but I've always kind of got that figured out the year before, because I have a rotation I follow, and certain crops work in certain areas of the farm and certain crops don't because of either weeds or soil type or something. So we kind of have a plan. So you can deviate a little bit, but not too much.
So you know your soil types, you've got that down. You've been doing it for, over 20 years. You've been, farming here with your parents since you were in high school. So you understand that. And as we talk more and more about things and where we're at with the markets and the economy, but we do have a lot of those conversations together in the evenings and then any of the land deals. And from my experience working with leases and so forth, and then we talk about these, the resources that I have on where we're at with the market for cash rent and so forth. So then we come back together on those. And now that I'm here, I have taken over a lot of the bookkeeping side of it to pay the bills and such. All right. Do you think working together has made us better communicators or just better at reading each other's faces?
Probably a little bit of both, but more reading faces, because I can tell when you're miffed about something with the face you make, or you'll look at me and make your eyes big, like, what? And then I just give you the silent treatment and look at you basically like, I can't believe you just asked that.
Well, remember, I do have a lot of things going on, and a lot of times I don't sleep at night. So my mind never shuts off. So it's all these files that are open. And sometimes men don't have several files open at the same time. We've got lots of tabs going on. What's one time we totally disagreed about a purchase or a decision, and how did we find that middle ground?
I don't know if we've ever really disagreed on it, because we've always talked about it and made the decision together, or you just trusted my decision, my, experience with it, and figured if that's a good thing, then go for it. But yeah, we've usually talked about it. Did that.
Yep, we have. I mean, there isn't one thing that you've done any large purchases, from vehicles to things with the house remodel.
Not saying I haven't bought a lot of stuff I shouldn't have, but we didn't know until later, so we wouldn't have known right away. But there's been a few things that you've complained about because I'm working on them all the time. And I'm like, me too. So
I know. Sometimes you don't know what you're getting into when you're buying something, even if it is new. Sometimes things don't come from the factory like they should, or that what you're paying for.
Yep.
All right. Do we ever bring work home, or is the kitchen table just an extension of the farm office?
Oh, we usually just leave it at the doorstep. We don't talk much about it. We might visit a little bit in the evening, but at the table, we're usually just talking with the girls or talking with each other or filling our faces because we're hungry. One of the
Right.
two.
Right. And this brings up a memory that I can think of when we first got married and we were at your parents' for Thanksgiving and everybody was around. And I just remember your dad always talking about farming. He was always talking about what the neighbors had going on for their fields or what you were doing with the farm. And it was like you could never shut it off. Just like in farming is like no other business. It shouldn't be any different than any other business.
Because
You
you never leave the job. It's always
That's right.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why we kind of relax a little bit when we do take trips because we finally get away from the office.
Yes.
Because you can't look anywhere out the house and not see work.
Yep. Yep. Where, when I was working for full time, I could leave work every day and hopefully to shut your mind off. And now here, you live it, you breathe it, you sleep it, it's all around you. So you have to find that balance of when you talk about the business and when you shut it off.
Yep.
So what helps us reset after a stressful day or a tough decision?
Probably just sitting in my recliner, watching some TV and maybe falling asleep. Not much else you can do. No sense doing about it.
No. I think about too, we really find that it helps to, when you mentioned a minute ago, leaving, taking some time, taking a break away from the farm, taking the girls and going on a vacation, even if it is just a weekend, going and doing something fun, whether we're going to some college basketball games or doing some traveling.
A concert or something, going skiing, something like that. Just to get out.
Yep, because you got to relieve that stress or it'll just eat you up. So you have to figure out what works for you.
Yep. You don't have to go on a cruise. You can just take a day or two and get out.
Yep. Just step away from the business. What would you tell another couple thinking about farming together? How do they keep their marriage from becoming just a business partnership?
Can don't start farming be one of the answers?
Know what you're getting into before you start.
Go see a counselor first to see if you're mentally stable before you start the process. Then you'll be okay.
Right.
No, it's have the conversation and know what's expected of each other. Especially if you're with the parents, either in-laws or the husband is with the wife's family or relatives or parents, whatever, or vice versa. Have the conversation of what's expected of you. Because like in our situation, we've talked about, it was, you're working 40 miles away and you're gone from 7 till 6 or 6:30 every day, 5 days a week. And then you might be expected to be out in the field. Well, I've heard stories around here too, where a couple weren't married very long. And the wife was expected to work off the farm and then come home and then get in the tractor and run the tractor till 10 midnight while the husband went and did chores for cows or did paperwork or something and then started all over the next day. And she was working or sleeping 5-6 hours a night. It burnt her out. They even had difficulty getting pregnant at the start because she was working all the time.
Yep. Too much stress on your body and your health and really knowing what roles you're supposed to play on the farm, what's expected of you. Do you have to be,
you got to have those conversations and you got to make it understood that we're not going to just go full bore and put ourselves into $1 million of debt by the time we're 25 or 30, and then you never get out of it. And you're working and working and working, and all you're doing is maybe paying the interest and some principal, and you're never getting out from underneath because you bit off more than you could chew and didn't have a plan.
Right. And then you don't have a life either.
No.
Because is that really what you want to do, is to work nonstop?
Yep. We see them in all corners of where we've been, in places where we have friends around here and in other parts of the state or the country or whatever, that they are so, I don't know if you want to say in love with farming, or they've got so much tied up that all they do is work, that you never see them. You never see them out in the community doing anything. At the fair, you don't see them at any events around the area, holidays, nothing. They are working 7 days a week, probably 15 to 18 hours a day, every day, because they've got so much going on, and they kind of take it as a challenge that, well, if I can run this many cows and if I can farm this much ground, well, are you going to enjoy it? Because your body's going to be so wore out that by the time, you may have a lot of money put away, but if your body's shot by the time you're 55, 60, are you going to enjoy it?
No.
So
no.
That's how I look at it. You got to have a plan and visit on it, and you got to be both in agreement. It can't be the old school where the wife just goes, whatever you think, dear. That doesn't work anymore.
Yep. It's not only just a marriage, but it's that partnership together and knowing exactly what the expectations are and what you're getting into. And if you can't agree on that, I would not recommend putting yourself out there for such a large commitment.
And
in farming.
Yeah. And if the wife is just kind of had a dream of, well, I'm going to marry this rancher and I'll be able to dress cowgirlish and I'll look the part and everything. Well, it don't work that way. This isn't Yellowstone, and you're not Beth Dutton.
That's right.
You're going to have to be out there working. You're going to have poop on you. You're going to probably get kicked. You're going to end up with scars. You aren't going to put makeup on and do your hair every day. Jewelry is a thing of the past, except for special events. So, you got to know what you're getting into. It's not just this dream of living out in the country. It's not a hobby farm. It's a business.
No, that's it. Yep, it's a business, and you have to understand the books, and you have to understand the whole economics and how to operate that farm to keep it viable for your family.
Yep.
Okay, so if our books could scream, what would it say about our discussions over finances? Really, if our books could scream, would they say anything to us? Would they haunt us on anything?
I don't know. Nothing I can think of. I mean, what I scream about with our finances, I think you and the two girls probably buy too much clothes and shoes. That's for sure. I could buy with 2 pair of shoes, and you guys bring 2 pair of shoes just for one day. Yeah, a different color vest for every different kind of shirt you want. And I'm like, what do you need all that for? But I guess I'm not a woman. I don't understand, but yeah. No, but as far as the finances go, we agree on everything. We don't, if I'm going to buy something, I tell you about it. We discuss it. That I'm frugal is frugal. I don't pay new price. I don't buy new. I look for deals. If I got to go 200 miles to find a better deal than local, I'll do it. I'm not loyal for one place.
So that kind of takes me to when we first started dating. You have, and this might be something that some people close to us know this, you have a tattoo on your shoulder. What is that tattoo?
It's a bulldog.
Okay. And what is...
I love junkyards, so I'm a junkyard dog. I love going to junkyards because one person's trash is another person's treasure. Right? And I found some gems, and people couldn't believe what are you going to do with that? And I tell them what I'm doing with it. And they're like, that'll never work. And then after I build it, they're like, what the heck? That did work. Wow, that's pretty cool. You going to build another one? Nope. Well, why not? She said, because I don't need another one. Maybe I build it for me. No.
Build your own.
Yeah, build your own.
One of our first dates, within the first couple months that we were dating, remember where we went? And that's when I learned about the meaning behind the junkyard dog.
With the auction sale?
Yeah, we went to an auction sale. So that was one of our dates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hot and windy Memorial Weekend, I think it was.
Oh, it was. It was. And I think we just started dating. We just met in April. And so then
a few weeks.
so that was one of our first dates. It didn't spook me. So we're still good. All
You
right.
don't really come to auction sales with me anymore, but a lot of the auction sales I go to now are online. So
yeah. So there's no traveling. So it's a win-win. We could save that time to go on a trip together.
Yep.
All right. So now farming together is one thing, but when you farm with family nearby, which we're only a quarter mile from your parents, that adds a whole nother layer of fun, right?
Yep.
So you grew up on the farm. Here, the house we live in is over 100 years old. It's your great-grandparents' house. And your parents, like I said, they live close by. What's it like balancing those conversations with them and with me about the farm business?
Well, they've gotten better now because you're home. So I know I've told you, but when you were at work and you'd come home, I couldn't remember if I talked to you about it or if I talked to a neighbor about it or if I talked to mom and dad about it. And then you would get upset and say, well, you never told me that. And I'd say, yes, I did. I told you. No, you didn't. Well, sure, we were. Oh, yeah, that was mom and dad I was telling, or that was dad, or that was the so-and-so, the neighbor. So yeah, now that you're home more, now you hear more of the stuff firsthand and not at 8:00 at night when I'm winding down for the day and we finally get the girls ready and they're off to bed and supper's done and kitchen somewhat cleaned up and we're just relaxing for the night and we've already had our stories. So
right. We can have those stories throughout the day. But for those couples that don't have that luxury where we're at right now, they're working separate. I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure you set aside time to talk about that. Yeah. So how have we made sure that we've communicated clearly in keeping, not only you and I, but our girls?
We keep them informed on what's going on with the farm. They understand finances of the farm. They understand decisions made, the equipment, why it's a rush, why it's not. They both pay attention to the weather. They've always been the ones that when they were in high school and doing, because they ran, so their running was always outside. So they would look at the weather and they would know, and they'd even sometimes tell the coach, I think we should practice at 6 tomorrow morning and not in the afternoon because it's going to be almost 90 degrees and windy. But in the morning, it'll be this. And they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, we could do that. So they both done that in the past where they've told the coaches, we should move practice to here, we should move practice to there, or we should do this or that, or we should. So they've always paid attention to the weather and they understand what severe weather can do and they're not really scared of it. They know what to do and prepare for it. So, yeah. And they know their way around equipment. They're not afraid to get grease on their hands or their pants. And they've got some scars from stuff. So they're not afraid.
But you've taught them a lot of this, and making sure that you're communicating with them all the time. Okay, This is what you got to do. Watch out for this. So everything from the weather to running equipment to our farm finances, politics, economics. I mean, all the things that to make them well-rounded in our operation.
To prepare them for adulthood. Yeah.
Yep. So when you think about our legacy, what do you want to see passed down beyond the land and the equipment?
Oh, I think a knowledge of the area, because they did grow up here. I grew up here. I can think of 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 8 to 10 houses within 5 miles of our farm that nobody lives in anymore because either the people that were living there farming when I grew up here either passed away or moved away. And even in our farm, I think I counted it up, it was somewhere between 10 and 12 farms is what it used to be when I was young, 5, 6 years old. a lot of that stuff was farmed by several different people. And then over the years, this person quit or retired or passed away or something. Then this person took on more and more and more. Yeah, back when I was a kid, if you farmed 3,000, 4,000 acres, you were huge. You were a huge farmer. And now, if you don't farm that around here, you're a small farmer. And if you farm that now, you're average to small, and there's 15 to 20,000 acre farmers around here. So yeah, that's what I always tell the girls when we're driving around who used to live here and whose place it was, and remember going in that house. And I remember this house used to be like this, but a tornado took off the top floor, and now it's only a single story. It used to be a 2-story, and these people lived here, and who's related to who and whatnot. So that's kind of the legacy I'd like to pass down, is who was here and whatnot, because I've seen it when we go back to where you're from and we're driving around, and I'll ask you, well, who lived there? And you don't know. Mm-hmm. And you said, my parents never talked about that. Who lived here? Who lived there? Whose place was this? Whose place was that? And now the girls, they know.
Right. Because we didn't have that history, those conversations growing up. Maybe my dad and my grandpa had it, but they didn't talk about it with us because we were women and we were doing in a different area of the house. So we didn't have that conversation.
Yeah.
So what have we learned about teamwork and communication that's made us stronger, not just as business partners, but as a couple, and making sure that we are thriving with our business and successful to keep the wheels turning?
Oh, that, learn from your mistakes and have patience. I know you're learning as you go, but because you haven't been around it, you were in an office for 30 years and now you're out. You've started your own business and it's balancing act. Now I have to ask you, what do you have planned for the day? Where before it was you went to work and you came home. And it didn't matter what you were doing during the day. And now it's like, well, I got a phone call with so-and-so and I got a meeting with so-and-so and I have to go to Watford for this. And then okay. So then I know that if I need something or if I need parts, I don't have to run to town to get parts. You could pick them up. I could wait a few hours till you go to town. So that's where some of the communication is now I ask more about what you're doing. And then you ask me if I need help with anything. Way too many times a day, but you still ask.
Just making sure that you're not laying.
Sometimes I think you think I'm helpless, but.
Well, I don't want to see you falling off the top of a green bin or something, or laying underneath something.
Yet, so.
Well, you're not a spring chicken anymore, though, Kirk.
Nope.
All right. So, let's end with something a little lighter. Our Halloween lightning round. So, okay. So, who's more likely to forget lunch?
Me.
This one's going to be a drop in the bucket. Who gets dirtier?
Me. Mentally or physically?
I knew where you were going to go with that one. You've had some things that have exploded on you this year that you come to the house and I'm like, can't even see your face.
Yep.
All right. Who says just one more pass? We're almost done.
Me.
Yep. Whose phone has more farm photos and family photos? Maybe I should just say photos altogether.
Yours.
I'm always taking pictures. Always. Yep. I'm full of pictures.
Yeah. I keep getting notified that you're almost out of space on your cloud. You're almost out of space. You got to add another $1, add another $1. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't care about pictures. I've got all kinds of pictures of the girls and things on the farm.
I got a memory. I can remember what it looks like.
There you go. Photogenic memory. All right. Who talks to themselves more while working?
You.
I'm always talking through things, talking out loud. Yep. If our farm was a haunted attraction, what would we call it?
Probably Heidi's Hills of Horrors. Probably.
Why is it just got to be me? I think it should be.
It's with the H. It doesn't
Oh,
sound as good with Kirk. Heidi.
okay. Heidi's Hills of Horrors. I was thinking something like something about the Olson Family Museum, because you have 10 aunts and uncles, and every time they'd come back, they always wanted a tour of the museum. And I always
Yeah.
thought we should be charging them something to come in. We can work out something like that. Make some money on the side. All right. If you could give one piece of advice to other couples working together, what would it be?
Take it slow, have patience, have plans in place. Just because the neighbor buys a new piece of equipment, don't think you need to. If what you have is working and doing a good job, wait till it's a necessity and not just a want. Because there's a lot more wants than there's dollars in the checkbook. So make them count. Otherwise, you will never have any money to go get away from the farm and take some decompression time and just relax, because you will never be able to leave the farm because it's always going to be there.
Right. Yep, exactly.
And no matter how much you think you love farming and you just can't live without it, there is time to get away.
Yeah, you have to make time for your mental, physical health, all the above.
And your family.
Yes. Family should come first and foremost before the farm.
Yep.
So what makes it all worth it for us?
Oh, definitely the money. What makes it worth it? I think being your own boss, setting your own schedule. If it's a good day and you get a call from some friends and they go, you want to go out on the lake? You can do it. You don't have to call in for time off. You can go and go, well, I guess I'll be working Saturday. If you go in on a weekday. So where before, when you were working all the time and all we could go was on the weekend, it didn't usually work for them, or it didn't work for us, or the weather wasn't cooperating. So now we can just go whenever we want and we'll do things. If you want to run to town, you can go to town. You don't have to schedule it. And then being responsible for your own mistakes. You take that accountability. You don't have anybody but to blame. A funny story, when I was in college, I worked for this farmer, and one of his neighbors was out and we were working together. And they just did the Freedom to Farm bill. So that's, if for anybody that doesn't know, when I was growing up, the government told you how much you had to plant of what type of crop. So we planted oats and we planted barley and we'd plant wheat and we'd plant safflower and we'd have some hay ground and stuff like that. And you had to plant that amount. You were allowed this many acres. It was their way of kind of controlling commodities. Well, then when the Freedom to Farm came out, you could farm the whole farm. You didn't have to fallow anymore. You could plant the whole thing to wheat if you wanted to. And there was nothing against it. Well, this farmer, he was complaining about it. Yeah, I don't like this new Freedom to Farm. I liked it the old way, where the government told you what to farm and what to plant. And I said, why would you like that? He goes, that way, if it didn't work, I could blame them and not me. I was like, that's an interesting way to look at it. But so anyway, no, it's accountability, it's freedom, and it's a sense of accomplishment that you did it on your own and you weren't on somebody's shirt tails. So I guess that's right. What it means to me. So
that's right. Not punching a clock for somebody else.
Yep.
Well, that wraps up today's episode of the Pathfinder Legacy Podcast, where Kirk and I survived our very first couples therapy farm edition. Maybe later he might get smothered with a pillow for some of the things that he's letting out of the bag, but we'll see. That's yet to be seen. If you hear him on another episode, you know that he survived. Well, we had those laughs and confessions. We learned that communication is the ultimate crop insurance policy for marriage. So whether you're farming side by side or just trying to survive harvest season together, remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's partnership. Because at the end of the day, planning ahead and talking to each other isn't spooky at all. I'm Heidi Olson with Pathfinder Legacy, wishing you a happy harvest, happy Halloween, and a marriage that's full of laughter, not ghost stories. Thanks for joining me on the Pathfinder Legacy Podcast. If you found today's episode helpful, share it with a friend or a business farm family. And if you're ready to start the conversation, let's talk. Book a 30-minute discovery call. You can connect with me at pathfinderlegacy.com. Happy Halloween. Until next time, I'll see you between the ditches.
Thanks for listening to the Pathfinder Legacy Podcast, where your future is our focus. Be sure to subscribe, follow us on social media, and visit us at pathfinderlegacy.com to start building your transition plan today.